All right, let's get started right now with our guest tonight. Our guest tonight is Erika Lukes. She is the Utah MUFON director. She became the when did you get your directorship, Erika?
Oh, boy, I think it's been about 6-8 months.
Really?
Yeah.
October. It was summertime, huh?
Well, you know what? It's just all gone by so quickly. Who knows?
Well, we had you in right when you were assigned MUFON director, and we had such a good time. But for the people that didn't listen that night, why don't you give a little bit of a background about how you got into the subject of UFOs and what put you where you are today?
Okay. Well, I first became interested in the subject. I was, oh my gosh, about 6 years old, and I was at the school library, and I just looked over and saw a book with the UFO on the cover, and I picked it up, and it was, just that's all she wrote, because I became fascinated. Something just drew me to the topic of the paranormal. And throughout my life, I've had some very interesting paranormal experiences, and also I've had some sightings as well. So my life has been full of interesting experiences.
Fringy
it's been great.
type things.
Yeah, very fringy.
Yeah.
A fringy gal, but it's been incredible. And the sightings that I had last summer led me to become involved with MUFON, and it set me on my course for working with MUFON, not only the Utah as our state, but also with MUFON headquarters, and I do some
As an
things for them.
organization.
Yes.
Right. So you followed, looking at your past bio that you sent me, obviously Dr. John Mack, Bug Hopkins. Did you, obviously, not only ufology, but abduction, and does that interest you as well?
I love abduction. I mean, Whitley Strieber was something, I remember picking up communion when I was 16 and just being fascinated, and, looking at the cover, that the picture of the gray on there was so, it
the
just
movie
struck a
scared the heck
chord.
out of me.
Oh yeah, the movie was
With
for
Christopher Walken?
multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken's always a little.
He's always a little bit out
and
there.
yeah, Captain Hook. That was
Right.
I'm not sure which was scarier, but that's okay. So it's so fascinating. Abduction research has been through a lot. We were. Marlise Spenlove, my assistant state director, who's been working in this field for a long, long time. We were just talking about Dr. Leo Sprinkle and how he was really the father of abduction research back in the 1960s. And he's been through a lot. He's a wonderful human being. I actually had the privilege of having a reading by him, a past life reading. And
so he's a researcher. Not only is he a professor, but involved with the UFO community. But is he a psychic as well, or regression hypnotherapist? Is that the right one?
He's a channels, and so he's just a very
interesting,
very interesting person. And we're going to try to get him over here, even if we have to go pick him up. We'll drive him back here, and we'd love to have him speak at a MUFON meeting, because he's just such a source of knowledge.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Well, the whole abduction thing to me is and we got a lot to cover tonight. We're going to go a lot of different directions, if that's okay. But the abduction phenomenon, that I think is the most interesting thing to me. Of course, a lot of people see things in the air. We see things in the sky. We were talking before the show started, we were talking about some of these subjects about wars on Mars with Marines and the moon and all this other stuff, and who am I to say that it's true or not? But the abduction thing is, to me, it's scary, it's interesting. I'm not a skeptic, but I'm a little skeptical of it.
It's so hard. It's so elusive. And I think that's people tell their abduction stories, and if you haven't really researched it, I mean, your first instinct is like, wow, they are off their rocker. But I mean, these are real experiences. These people are having them, and there's so many people that are being abducted, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's been going on for centuries. I mean, so it's.
Do you ever watch John? We've had John B. Wells on the program just recently, and of course that I think it's called Alien Files on Sunday nights. There's a program on. They bring all the different researchers on. Really interesting stuff.
Cool.
And they said that there's been over 240 million recorded abduction scenarios. Now, that doesn't mean that necessarily they happened or not, but 240 million people have come forward over the years and said that they feel that they've had some sort of an encounter.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
And it's such a hard topic for people to come forward about because of the ridicule. I mean, not only is it a kind of a demoralizing and very traumatic experience for the person, even when they, aren't sharing that, but then you take the chance and you talk to people and you're ostracized, and it's really a hard thing.
It is. It's scary. Because it does take a lot for somebody to come forward. I feel to come forward and talk about these things. Not that many years ago, just talking about seeing something in the air flying around at night. They wanted to put you in a straitjacket and put you away. And things have definitely come a long way. But you're really talking over the edge stuff when you're talking about being abducted by something non-human.
Absolutely. It's a frightening thought. And in fact, I'm just thinking the last time I was here, it was right before I was getting ready to go to Vernal, up to Skinwalker Ranch territory. And I actually went up there and did a multi-generational abduction investigation. And I met with, 3 different generations of a family that has lived up in those parts in the Uinta Basin for a long time, and just good, down-to-earth people. And we went for 2 days just over their interviews. I talked to them. The grandmother was in her 90s, and it was a fascinating trip for us, fascinating investigation that I'm still trying to
now,
put together.
Were these people, did they have an encounter of sorts?
They've had many encounters over their lifetime, and not only, and Skinwalker Ranch territory.
Yes.
That whole area is. There's every kind of sighting, every paranormal type of sighting that you would want, you have there. And they've had experiences with, Bigfoot and all of these things, UFOs. The grandmother recalls being a little girl, 5 or 6, and seeing an entity or a person standing by her, holding her, and then this entity being, is through outer life, and she recalls things being with her, beings that would take blood from her in the evenings and heal her. It was fascinating.
We got to talk more about that. All right, everybody, welcome back to Fringe Radio. Our guest in studio tonight, Erika Lukes, Marley Spendlove, are both here. We're going to be talking about ufology and everything that twirls and spins around it. Again, it's an honor to have you both here, and thank you for giving up your Saturday night to come here and be with us and share your stuff.
Thank you very much for having us. It's always a pleasure.
So the sightings, now you brought a whole bunch of notes, and we're going to let you talk about your stuff. So why don't you go ahead, and then I got a lot of questions for you, but why don't you go ahead and get started, and let's cover some of the things that you want to cover.
Okay, well, I think that the most important thing I want to cover is the mass sighting that we had here in Colorado on October 2nd of this year. And just to give you a little background information about that, it was October 2nd, probably about 2 o'clock, and I began to receive calls from the media here asking me for feedback about some sightings that were starting to roll in on their social media. And of course, at the time I was at my day job, and so I quickly, had to get to the computer and started noticing all of these, sites lighting up with information about seeing 3 to 5 to 7 white objects hovering in locations for up to an hour, and then moving in erratic ways, changing directions quickly, so on and so on. And this took place over the Salt Lake Valley. We had reports, Spanish Fork, Vernal, Utah, and then we saw the Colorado, Longmont, Colorado, and Breckenridge. So the sightings, it was, it has to be a pretty big deal if it's making stories on the news. If we're getting news coverage about it. I've spoken with everyone I could think of. I spent a good chunk of time on the phone with Peter Davenport, who I just love at New Fork. He got lots of sightings reports for this time frame, and then talked to all of the guys at MUFON because they are so incredible. Robert Powell and I have talked, and I love him. He is such a great man. And then, I've talked to Ruben and all of these people that are they're such a great support system. So I did the
Ruben,
Uriarte. I love him. He's
him and Noe Torres.
Oh my gosh.
Two great guys.
No,
Two
they're
great
just
guys.
fantastic. I love them, and I can't wait to hear them at the Open Minds conference, the UFO Congress. But, it's interesting. I've been talking a lot to the MUFON Colorado people, and we definitely have some different ideas about this. And those guys, Doug Wilson, they've been doing it a long, long time, and they had a case about 6 months ago, and in this case, it was actually a Google Loon balloon. And so they found the transponder data on the balloon, and it was a similar type sighting. And so they're kind of thinking, they're moving towards the direction that it's a Google Loon balloon. And with the witness testimony, Marley and I went out and interviewed 5 different people at one location. I've spoken with multiple witnesses. To me personally, I don't feel like I have enough evidence yet to classify this as the Google Loon balloons. I believe that there are too many questions that I have, like why were these objects in FAA airspace? The Loon Project is very adamant about not flying or putting these up, launching these balloons in airspace that could potentially cause a safety of concern. And also the Loon balloons, I mean, they're not launching 5 to 7 of them, to my knowledge, at a single time. And that's the same case for, the super pressure balloons, weather balloons, research balloons. They're typically launched one at a time. And they also are not at the elevation that we have the sightings reports for. They're, 60,000 feet. So all of these things were they've been amazing to talk to people. And I did a FOIA request, so that will be coming in. They just finally got back to me, and they're sending me all of the radar data. And then Robert Powell will be looking at that, and we'll analyze it and just see what we can come up with, so we can, definitively say, nope, this was not a Google Loon balloon. We'll see what happens.
It was something else.
Yeah.
Now, there was an article, and I should have, I think I've got it on my other PC at home. There was an article written by a professor up at the University of Utah, because I think the media turned some of this stuff over. There was also some stuff reported where people thought they were, and I believe this was about the same time, where they felt that that there was something that came across the sky. A couple of occurrences where they appeared to be like a meteor, we get a meteor burn, we get the big streak, and claimed that these things were actually firing something at it. I got quite a few articles sent to me right around that same time. So there was white lights chasing white streaks. And I remember seeing something on Fox, and I'll have to forward it to you. I'll have to post it on Facebook. But I know they went to a professor, one of the professors up at the U, who teaches whatever, I don't know, and tried to get a little bit of input. So there was a lot of stuff going on
there was
this year here.
It's been crazy, and I think that there's always a lot of stuff going on. It's just that nobody pays attention.
Well, in these blurbs now, we've got some really good friend. I got a good friend that has been on the show, Bill Forte. Him and Eric in the Northeast. Bill is in New York State. Eric is in the Boston area, and they do these live sky cams, and the stuff they are catching is just unbelievable. I've bought the equipment. I need to get my cam up and going, but they're using high definition. We've had them on the program to talk about all the way they set it up. Not real expensive. They've been catching these, from what I've seen on their YouTube channel, and I can put a link out there for it. These big white globe things that are coming across the sky, and they're catching. I mean, they're not catching them every now and then. I mean, they're seeing I don't want to say they're orbs, but they're really unique white globes.
Right.
Wilbur Allen, who we've had on the show a couple of times from UFO DC. Of course, Wilbur worked for the White House. He was a correspondent on Air Force One. I believe he's involved with MUFON, did a few shows on sci-fi and stuff.
I love
He
listening
is.
to, oh my gosh, he's great.
He's great to have on, and same thing with Wilbur, catching all these same globe type of craft, or well, let's call it entity, if you want to call it that, or orb maybe. But there are these white, and they're flying all over the East Coast, and people are catching them up.
Well, I have got a pair of night vision binoculars, and needless to say, I'm sure my neighbors just think I'm a special spirit. What do I do on a Friday night? I'm getting my night vision goggles, and I'm sitting up there on the porch by myself. But, that's the way I roll. It's okay. So I have, I've seen some pretty crazy things through those. And even if you just sit out there for half an hour and look through regular binoculars, granted, sometimes you're seeing the space station, or there are different things that are explainable, but sometimes there are things that are just kind of defy logic. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
So I know we steered away, of course, but that was one of the big things that, like you were mentioning, that was here, and then of course Utah or Colorado, seemed to occur right in these four-state area here.
It did, and I think it was the same day that there were the reports of the meteor. That I think it was about 4 a.m. that morning.
The Russian meteor?
No, it was over. There was a comet actually over. I'm just trying to remember, over a part of Utah, and it was about 4 in the morning. Do you remember that? And the pictures of it shows a smaller object to the side of it.
Maybe that was the one I was talking about, where something it was chasing a very bright meteor with a bright tail, and something was chasing after it.
Yep, and it was the same day that all of the mass sightings happened. And the peculiar thing, too, about the mass sightings here is that it was a daylight sighting. It was in front of everybody. It was crazy. Also, the witnesses, just to throw this in there, that saw the mass sighting, and we were at an apartment complex, and they saw it for at least an hour in one location.
These things hovering.
Yes, and they said that there were, and they're right in the Salt Lake International airspace, where the flight corridor. They said that during that time they could not. There was no commercial aircraft in the area, and they found that really strange. And they also said that they saw a lot of military aircraft kind of moving along the periphery of these objects, like they knew it was there. They were keeping track of this sort of thing, and that the witnesses that we interviewed also mentioned that there was a lack of any environmental sounds. They said that usually there's wildlife, birds, different things in the area, and they said that everything just became very still and eerie.
So were they orbs, or did they appear to be some sort of a solid type? Because the photos that I've seen all appear to be, unless you were looking right at it, you would look right past them, because they appear to be white or maybe silver in color. I don't know if that's the sun reflecting off them.
They did say they had some reflective qualities. And the witnesses that we interviewed, it seems like the things that they saw were probably higher in elevation. Mm-hmm. I did have a case report from a fellow who's a skydiver that was out close to Mount Nebo, and he was doing a jump, and he works for a company, and he saw these things in the sky, and all of the people that were getting ready to take the little jump, the parachute jump, saw them and remarked on how strange it was. And then he jumped out, he did his jump, and he said that he went past one of these objects, and he said the wind speeds were 55 mile an hour winds, and he said he was just in shock that whatever it was perfectly still.
Didn't even move.
No. And and this was about 6,000 feet above ground level. So
if people caught photos of this, I would assume you were encouraging them to send them to you or send them to MUFON if you happen to have something that caught a glimpse of this.
Absolutely, thank you. That's a great point. I immediately went into all of these, news websites and all of these things, and tried to reach out to everybody that was making comments, and I did get some responses, and that was wonderful. But I know that there are lots of other people out there that saw things, that have photos. And if any of you are listening tonight or know anybody, it's incredibly important that we get all of this information,
Yeah.
because we're putting together pieces of a puzzle, and this could be a pretty significant case for
Yeah.
MUFON Utah. So
Yeah. Now, so then after these, were the sightings occurring here in Utah and in Colorado concurrently, or did it seem like it was a little period of time and then it moved off?
yes, there were sightings here on the 2nd, and then there were sightings in Colorado on the 3rd. We also have reports of the objects on the week before, and then the week after here from witnesses
Gotcha.
we've talked to. So, when we've pulled up you can go to Flight Radar and you can look at the transponder data. And again, there's no transponder data saying that these were Google Loon balloons. So there are lots of questions that we have.
Things out there. Has MUFON this year received a lot of good? I know that it seems like the last maybe half to quarter of this year, there's been a lot of sightings worldwide. I mean, down in South America here in the past month, people I'm seeing a lot of stuff coming in. It seems like we're seeing a lot of activity, or maybe we're not seeing any more activity. Maybe people are looking up and things are capturing stuff a little bit more. It seems like it seems to be a little bit on the rise over the past 6 months.
I believe that it has been, and it seems like things, and maybe it's just the climate of the world, but maybe as things become more tumultuous with what's going on and in everything here, sightings increase. I definitely feel for me that I think that things are happening. I think things are increasing, and we're having more people come forward in Utah to give case reports, which is great. And you look at all the people that have come forward and you think, oh my gosh, there are twice that many that need to come forward and file reports. So but it's a pretty cool thing.
Are you starting to get more stuff now that and we talked a little bit about that last time, now that there's more of a formal foothold here with MUFON? Are people starting to send more? Are you guys starting to see activity climb up a little bit?
We are, and I contacted almost on a weekly basis from people that are so interested in this that they want to actually become field investigators.
Okay.
Which is fantastic. We need all the help that we can get, and there's so many areas of Utah, like close to Dugway. You could go up to Vernal, Utah. I mean, we've got all of this information here. We just need people to go out and help us collect the information.
Dig it up and bring it forward to you.
Yep.
Well, very good. Now, if people want to send in stuff, we know there's a new website coming soon, but where do they go right now for reports? I think there's a link off of MUFON to kind of a temporary site right now. There
is actually. It still should be the regular website. So you just go to MUFON.com, and then there's a report a UFO section, and you'll go into there, and we are getting ready to switch some things over. We've revamped the questions that we ask, and it's hopefully a little bit more of an efficient process for people. So are there field investigators out here? Now, you and Marley are kind of doing you're the two head MUFON chicks. Are there are there more investigators? Are there more people becoming part? Are you going to be doing, if somebody has a desire to do that, you'll provide training or at least direction? Or yeah, I will absolutely help them in any way I can. What we're hoping to do is get my friend Ruben out here from Northern California to do a field investigator training.
That would be cool.
And we've talked about it, and I would love just to have him out here anyway, because we could cause some trouble out there.
Without a doubt.
But he's so amazing, and so keep your fingers crossed, and I'll keep you posted about that. But
Sounds
we do
good.
have a new section director.
We're having some fun talking about UFOs and ufology and MUFON, and it sounds like for at least the state of Utah that now there's something official in place, and we encourage people. What other things you want to talk about? And then we've got a lot of questions for you.
Oh, good. I'm so excited. I also wanted to mention we did have some information about some cattle mutilations recently in Daggett County. KSL, actually in the Deseret News, I believe, did an article about that. And so I think we're starting to hear more about it. And I put my feelers out to the sheriff, the Daggett County Sheriff's Department. And I think they, need to warm them up slowly, maybe.
So they have found mutilated animals.
They have,
then?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's lots of stuff. We just have to pay attention.
Now, we've had him on the program, Butch Witkowski. Is he kind of the MUFON? Chuck, rather.
Yep.
Chuck Witkowski. Is he kind of the MUFON mutilation dude?
Specialist. He is.
Yeah, okay.
He is. He's great.
He's a good guy. He's a great guy to have on the program. Okay, how about a couple questions for you?
I'd love it.
Okay. As a fan of Bud Hop, this comes from our good buddy Bill in upstate New York. Says, Erika, as a fan of Bud Hopkins and John Mack, do you believe that in Bud's case there were alien abductions which included alien implants, and in John's work specifically, the Zimbabwe case with the children witnessing an alien entity?
Oh boy, I think definitely it's some of Bud's alien abduction or the investigation. I mean, I would be willing to bet that yes, there were implants, but I don't think, as far as I know, that any of the children in the Zimbabwe case had any implants.
Okay, I think that was kind of really two questions I put together.
Okay,
but that I have not done a lot of digging into that. But that's an interesting case. Was at 60-some children
yes,
that saw the same thing until this day. Were they given some sort of a message, I believe? Or?
They were given a message, and that was that we are in terrible danger, and we need to pay attention to the earth and treat it with respect. And the case was so phenomenal. And, like you say, the children are still left with these, they're now adults, but they are... that forever changed their existence.
Right.
And so it's...
Is there anybody doing research on that? Because it seemed like, again, I remember coming across that some time ago. It seemed like it died a little bit. But now all of a sudden we're hearing more and more about this. Is there anybody out there, to your knowledge, both of you, that is starting to ramp up and do a little bit more, a little bit more detail? Maybe I don't want to call it a detailed analysis, but maybe bring some of the details forward for people, because there's so many that aren't aware of it.
For the Zimbabwe case,
right.
You know what, John Mack has an institute, and so from what I understand, there's a film in the making.
Maybe
or
that's what it
in
was.
Pre-production, and I believe there was an anniversary too. We were at the MUFON Symposium in July, I believe, and one of the witnesses was there as well. And so things are, I think that's resurfacing again. It's a fascinating case.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Another question is, what are the similarities that Eric has found in relation to all of the cases around the globe, specifically in the United States, the alien craft, the alien depiction location? Are you thinking, and we talked a little bit about this before the break, about these orbs that, or these white puffy clouds, or whatever these craft were, these white speck things. Do you think there's a little similarity to all of them, or do you think there could be multiple types of craft?
You know what, I think, we get case reports on, the orange orbs, and that's a worldwide phenomenon, and that was seen, in Phoenix with the Phoenix lights. And then we have the white orbs that we're seeing, the spheres. We've got the black triangles. They're all sorts of different craft, but it's interesting, especially when you research Utah, we have, the black triangles, and we have a lot of the red orange orbs that we see, but it seems to be a global thing. The
orbs seem to be a little bit more occurring more than they have in the past. I know that I've had the honor to have Grant Cameron here in the studio a couple of times when he comes through town. And of course, everyone talks about seeing, flying saucers and, different unique things. But these orbs, they change color. They seem to, some people claim they feel that they put out some sort of an emotional feel that as they change color, things feel differently in the area. Kind of unique, different.
Having had experiences with this myself, I can tell
orbs?
you.
Okay,
the orange
let's hear it.
orbs.
Let's hear it.
Oh, Lordy. Okay. So, this was my I gosh, I have a great view, and so I sit out on my deck and with my friends and family and watch planes come in and all of these things that take place. And last summer, I began to notice that there was this big reddish orange object in the sky, and it was quite a bit larger than any of the aircraft that I could see, and it would just appear, and it was almost always in this similar location. And I would watch it and get the binoculars out and look at it, and it was a single light, and it was kind of change shapes. And then on some nights when I would see it, a little one would drop out of the big light,
Really?
and then zigzag around and then make circles around the big object. Sometimes there were three of them, and I got a video about 6 months ago, I think, and there were 7 of the objects, and they're just behaving in ways that it's not conventional aircraft. They're not drones. I don't know what they are, but some of the, sometimes when I would see these objects, there was definitely an emotional component. It was a very profound experience for me. And
Were you seeing them at nighttime or in the daytime or the evening?
you know what? I would see them in the evening.
Okay.
But I mean, that's when I would sit out and relax
Sure,
and enjoy
sure,
the evening.
sure, sure.
But I had multiple friends from all over the valley talk about these sightings, so I wasn't the only
That's the
one.
one thing. I mean, I don't know where you live here in the valley, but if you're up on that east side, up on that bench especially, you get such a better shot than if you're, we're both on the west side, and of course we're up kind of high, but it's a gradual slope. You don't get to look down into it, but I know that a couple of times I've been, dinner or whatever with friends that live up there, especially up in Olympus Cove, and look out over the valley, and you get quite a different perspective up there.
You do, and it's amazing. But I wish I knew, and being state director, I'm always searching for the answers as to what these were, but I haven't found anything yet.
We need to get, and all kidding aside, I've really, Bill and Eric have really pushed me into getting the cam stuff done and for sky watching, and it doesn't take a whole lot. You can get a refurbished camera for about $70. Any old PC will work that you can record, and what these guys are finding is just amazing. It would be cool to get something set up at your house, even if it's on your back deck hidden or something, and just letting it record, because that's what it takes. Just like, doing EVP work. I mean, you got to go through hours and hours, but it's amazing what these guys, just a couple of, I don't want to call them amateurs, but they're amateur videographers. What they're finding is just, it's mind-blowing.
Well, I would be really excited to talk to them. In
Yeah.
fact, I think one of them called last time we were
Yeah, Bill
on
did.
air.
Bill did
and
call.
stuff.
Maybe
I
he'll
would-
call again.
Yeah,
We'll
that
see.
would be great, because I would love to do that, and then we could combine forces. I know last, summer when I started to see these things, I got my camera out every night and set it up, my video camera.
Did you capture some good stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But unfortunately, it's a film. It's at night.
Right.
It's hard to see what it is, and definitely when you have a video of things or a picture of things, it doesn't do justice to what
Right.
you're witnessing. So
Do they when they fly away? Do they have you been able to witness when they leave? Do they disappear? Do they shoot up in the air? Do they disintegrate in the air? I mean,
sometimes they will just disappear. Sometimes they will move off quickly. Sometimes they'll move in one direction and then within seconds have changed directions and kind of move the other way. It's never a dull moment, and it always seems to change. But
so mainly you've picked up a lot of pictures of orbs. Then I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of orbs. How about
Yeah.
craft? Have you picked up craft in the valley, or
you know what? I have just seen these orbs.
the orange orbs?
But
huh?
and
Orange
I don't
orbs.
know what they are, and who knows? They could be some drone, or I don't know.
Do they hover? Do they move around?
They hover,
Yeah.
and then they move, and it's pretty cool.
So if people here in the Salt Lake Valley or wherever, if you see this stuff and you capture it, forward it on to MUFON. The more, the better.
Yes, please. And then also we have a Facebook page. It's MUFON Utah.
Okay.
So feel free to send us a message there, get a hold of us, even if you don't want to take the time to file a report. Just reach out and let us know. And if we can get a few different people in different locations, if we have a sighting, we can have a little phone tree and call somebody
Sure.
at a different location, and we can all take photos and try to triangulate the all of
whatever these
yeah,
things are.
yep.
Yeah. Well, again, a picture's worth 1,000 words. If you can grab a video or a picture or something. I know most people, when they see stuff, I think they get so excited they move the, they put the zoom out, get it as fast as and all it is the blob. But if you take a little bit of time, and that was something that we enjoyed having Wilbur on, and Eric and Bill. Just get something set up that really works. It lets you capture something worthwhile. Do you want to take a call?
Yeah.
Okay. Caller, good evening. Welcome to Fringe Radio.
Hey, Pat. Hey, Erika. It's Bill in New York.
Hello.
There you go.
How are you? I
I'm
was
good.
just listening, and I had to call.
Oh, we love it. So glad.
Erika, the thing that Pat was just talking about, a few months ago, it was September 18th, I captured what looked like an orb or a disc-looking object, and I reported it to MUFON. So recently, Mark Antonio, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, he got back to me, and he said that it looked like it was a meteor that was close to our atmosphere. Now, in my own personal opinion, this thing was moving slow, and it wasn't moving fast. Now, I'm not like Pat was just saying, I consider myself to be an amateur. We've been doing this, Eric and myself, for almost a year now. So, do you have any experience dealing with the meteors? How fast they look to go across the sky?
Well, I wish I had better answers on that one. I don't, and these are things I'm still learning myself. With regards to Mark, I mean, he's so brilliant, and we're just blessed to have him. He knows so much about stuff. But all of us are doing the best we can, and we're making our best educated guesses, and so. It would be interesting. I'd love to have you forward that to me so I can see it as well. That would be great.
Okay, I will contact Pat for your information, and I'm sure he'll provide it. Also, I sent him another thing that I captured later in September. This object appeared to stop for a quick second in the break of the clouds and then just zoom off. It looked like warp speed to the right. So I also sent him that for analysis, so I'm waiting for him to get back with me on that.
Yeah, Bill's captured some, unbelievable stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, it's again. I need to get my camera up and going. I've got the equipment. I need to get it plugged in and get it recording. And I know these guys have been building weatherproof enclosures and stuff like that. I mean, they're really serious. But I need to get some stuff up. And again, the cost is not much.
That's amazing. That's great. And, we would love to definitely, let's exchange information and then get something here, because Utah is such, it's a hotbed of activity.
Right.
Not
Exactly.
to sound too cheesy, but we've got Dugway, we've got all of these military installations, and, there's a lot of activity, whether it's military or not, around in these areas.
Exactly. Have you found what's your channel, Bill? If listeners want to get out, I know we need to put a link on the website. We haven't done that yet, but what's the best place for listeners to go take a look at your video?
Bill NY, as in New York, Skywatcher on YouTube.
Gotcha.
And also Eric's, my friend who also does this with me, his is American Road Warrior, and it's all one word, American Road Warrior.
And it'll
So
come
that
up
you
in
can
all
find
the-
us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Another thing, too, is the weather has been, not too good the last month or so, so recording has been kind of terrible. It's
We
been,
need to come out
cloudy.
here.
Yeah,
It's summertime here.
Yeah.
I wish to capture an object that moves at like a 40, even a 90 degree. That would be something to stop, and then shoot off in a different direction. That's something that I would like to capture if possible. And also, I also think that drones, the more use of these drones, are going to cause a lot of misreporting
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
on UFOs. That's another concern that I have.
Hopefully, and we're talking, with MUFON about getting a really great page or, lots of information together. So we are giving information to the public about the different types of drones and military aircraft and things. So we can learn to be trained observers, so we can know what we're looking at, and therefore kind of decrease the sightings reports we're getting due to errors.
Especially when Amazon Prime launches all those.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
Yeah, that'll
boy.
be fun.
Yeah, so we're going to keep continuing doing what we're doing, and hopefully, like we used to post, videos when we first started of all types of objects, planes and satellites. But now it's pretty much, we restrained ourselves to only things that we find to be unknown or unusual. So obviously that's going to become less frequent as we post, because really now we're just focused on looking for those unusual objects. Because, Erika, we have 4 cameras, and it's 12-hour footage every night. So you do the math, that's 48 hours of footage to go through. So it's a lot of work, and it's tedious.
Hey, Bill, we've got an NBC break coming up. You want to hang in there? Or you want to call back
I'll hang
after?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. We'll put you on hold. Hang in there, Bill.
Okay.